I'm Hugh Fisher. During the past year, I inspected our existing fire system. Locally, I met with residents Horst Yost, who's a tremendous resource, and with Ed Klassen. Director Vince Poirier supplied some maps of the existing system. I met with Paul Edgington of the SLRD to explore the SLRD requirements for us. I've met with Russell Mack, Pemberton Fire Chief, and with his Assistant Fire Chief, and with Rob Blackall of the Pemberton Forestry Fire Base. Our fire system receives its water from the household water system, with the upper reservoir providing pressure for gates 2 and 6, and the lower reservoir providing pressures for gates 1, 4, and 5 standpipes. The capacity of the system to supply water is dependent on the water in the reservoir, which is the water in the tanks of the upper reservoir or the lower reservoir, and the ability to refill those tanks from the pump and the gate 2 pump house. Like it or not, there exist several cross-connects that could be opened in the event of wildfire that would add additional water from the McCulloch Creek and even Cataline Creek. The potential for pumping water into the system via, for instance, a connection to a high-output pumper such as a fire truck has been explored. Vince kindly provided a schematic of the radius that the hoses in each box should reach and covers all of the Lillooet Lake Estate properties. I undertook an inspection of the system. I went gate to gate, checked each firebox for the length and state of the hoses, the nozzle, the horn, and inspected the hydrants for flow and pressure. I would like to thank Horst for the ongoing work he has done and is doing on the system. Horst gave up a day to guide me through the system, and by and large all the boxes are in good shape. Almost all the hoses are dry and in good shape. All are equipped with nozzles that fit the type of hose in the box. The horns all worked but are aging. 2 of the boxes had French hoses and fittings which are not compatible with the standard fittings in the other boxes. These have been concentrated in one box in gate 1 and one box in gate 2. The most pressing problem were the actual hydrants. Almost half the hydrants were excessively tight, and neither Horst or I was able to turn on the hydrant without a tool to provide leverage. Several of the standpipes were damaged and then not functional. Horst showed me some hoses purchased by Lillooet Lake Estates in the past that had been damaged by casual use by residents, for instance when burning debris, but had not been dried and stored properly. Secondly, the water at the top of gate 2 was almost non-existent. A similar problem exists at the top of gate 6, though to a lesser extent. No water exited from the household hose at the top of gate 2 at the new house being built when the end of the hose was still 10 vertical feet below the foundation of the house. Several other houses are built at the same or on higher contour lines in gate 2. The water pressure at the top hydrant at the top of gate 2 is inadequate to shoot water even 20 feet through the nozzle at the level of the hydrant, let alone 50 to 150 feet vertically uphill to the properties located above the hydrant. Several boxes were deficient in hoses, which is to say they did not contain enough hose lengths to reach all the houses they need to. Gate 8 hoses, for instance, would not reach the front door of the Boyle property. Running hoses along roads is preferable through bush, but this results in longer hose requirements. Overall, we calculated we were about 800 feet short of hoses, and these were purchased and added to the deficient boxes. We purchased some plastic fire hoses compatible with our system which can be stored damp. Nevertheless, in the event of fire, hoses should be brought from other boxes. Some of the hydrants were just too tight to open. Horst proposed a simple lever system across the top of all the hydrants. I purchased 22 14-inch bars and installed them on all the hydrants, and all hydrants should now be relatively easy to open. We purchased an additional standpipe to replace a damaged one, which was installed. Standpipes cost over $1,000, and it is cheaper to repair removed hydrants. This has given us a backup hydrant in reserve that can be installed in the event if hydrant damage occurs again. The ability to fight fire with water is dependent on multiple factors. 2 of these are pressure and supply. Pressure is not a problem from mid-gate 2 and below, but pressure becomes a bigger problem the higher one gets in gate 2 and 6. There is no pressure at the top of gate 2. Several solutions are proposed. One is a portable high-output pump. A satisfactory pump compatible with our system will cost approximately $1,800 and will need to be housed and maintained in good condition and quickly accessible. A second proposal is to place a box nearby the old reservoir tanks at the top of Gate 2 that could house hoses that could be run from the old tanks to provide fire service to the nearby 3 lots. We would need approximately 500 feet of hoses. We need to test the output pressures, but this solution seems adequate for now. It would not cross-connect in any way with our household water system. Supply is dependent on the volume of our tanks and the rate water is used, and the ability for our diesel pumps to refill the tanks. Opening hydrants at the lowest point in the system in Gate 1, 4, and Gate 5 and Gate 7 and 8 will use water at a higher rate than hydrants further up the hill. At the highest fire hose use of 40 gallons a minute, the water supply will not last very long. On the other hand, the lake is handy and could be a source of water. Pumping water from the lake directly into the system may be possible using the powerful pumps on a fire truck. We live in a forested area with much fuel. Often the forests are very dry. The best protection against wildfire is prevention. Horst identified Strawberry Point campfires and resident contractor debris fires. He identified several residents as being very cavalier about their burn piles. Paul Edgington identified our biggest risks come from within, from household fires and campfires. Horst is cleaning up a debris-free zone on the north side of the triangle of land which is Lillooet Lake Estates, back as far as the cliff face. It is worthwhile to walk through the land he has cleared. Residents should be aware of the recommendations of the BC Homeowners Fire Smart Manual. A 10-meter fuel-free space around the house, thinned and spaced trees, and removal of deadfall and thick shrubs in a 30-meter zone around the house, and a 100-meter zone around the house with spaced trees. What this means for us is we should consider the Zone 3 recommendations for all of Lillooet Lake Estates, which is 6-meter spacing between crowns. We should recommend house construction be done with less combustible materials. Chimneys should have spark arresters. We should consider clearing a burn site so residents can bring their debris to burn. Emergency vehicles must have access to our gates. We need to ensure all the potential responders, Mount Currie Fire Department, Pemberton Fire Department, and the Forestry Service all have access at all times. I had discussions with Paul Edgington at the SLRD concerning our requirements, but it is not clear yet to me what the SLRD requires regarding wildfire prevention and firefighting capacity. The VCHA may also have input into our firefighting requirements. I met with Pemberton Fire Chief Russell Mack and his Assistant Fire Chief, and they inspected the system with me regarding our ability to fight fire, and were mostly pleased with what's in place. Ironically, on the afternoon of the very day this informal inspection occurred, we had a major debris fire event which got away, which was put out by residents. I understand the insurance requirements mandate a fire system which, with an output of 300 gallons per minute. We do not meet this standard. I haven't explored the ramifications of this on our ability to insure against fire. We rely on residents to fight fire. Several of our year-rounders have experience. Previously, I am advised, we had a resident who was the Surrey Fire Chief who trained residents to fight fire. I have discussed similar training with Russell Mack and with the Pemberton Forestry Fire Base, and we will have at least one, if not more, sessions on how to respond in the event of fire, likely during May and June of 2011. It is imperative that all owners and residents know what to do in the event of fire. We cannot rely on the Forest Service, Mount Currie, or Pemberton Fire Departments in the event of the fire. The first few minutes are critical. Horst has recommended all homes should have a dedicated, high-output field hydrant away from the house, equipped with hoses and with a firefighting nozzle. All homes should have a quality hose long enough to reach the back of the house and beyond, and have shovels, rakes, axes, and roof ladders available. All residents should be familiar with basic firefighting and with our specific plan. All residents should be familiar with their closest firebox and how to sound the alarm and what to do if they hear the alarm, how to connect hoses, how to attach nozzles, how to turn on the hydrants. In the event of hearing the alarm, they should know to bring hoses from faraway boxes.
That's a yard hydrant. That's a year-round service. This one that'll reach all around the cabin.
We had one potentially very serious fire event at Lillooet Lake Estates in 2010, in which a debris fire spread to neighboring tall cedar trees, which formed a privacy barrier between lots. The neighbor discovered the fire, alerted her husband, and he successfully put out the fire with equipment he had prepared for such an emergency. It is no stretch to say that this action saved the entire Lillooet Lake estate. During the fire, embers also spread to the adjacent 2 downwind lots, which also started small fires, which were also put out. I discussed this fire with Ed Klassen and what his preparations were, which allowed him to act so quickly in putting it out.
Here I have my another 100 feet of fire hose, and they're connected to the manifold, and the manifold has 6 valves, and to the other ones are run all down through the yard. From in on the ground, one goes to the lake in the bottom and one goes down. I use the 5/8 instead of 1/2 inch. That gives you right away a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm working on to put the pump in the lake. I got the pump. In emergency, I can pump from the lake.
Mm-hmm.
This way I'm not hanging on LLE system. Awareness and pay attention. See, the thing is, everybody has investment in here. You don't want to just let it go just like that.
I've recommended that we have twice yearly inspection of all standpipes and fireboxes, ongoing inspection and replacement of damaged hoses, a portable fire pump possibly housed in a ready-to-go fire trailer, risk mitigation, and possibly house or lot inspection, that we should consider Zone 3 BC Homeowner Fire Smart standard for all of Lillooet Lake Estates, and that we should undertake resident homeowner education and basic fire training. Thanks.